coming up shortly after that as well. And then we have our promise program in AI towards the end of the year. So we'll all be up to spec on that as well. So that is the upcoming programs. So without further ado, I will go ahead and introduce our speaker. And Tiffany, I don't think made it today because she's not feeling well, but Tiffany arranged us. So thank Tiffany when you see her next. So Alex Culpepper is the Vice President of Corporate Business Development for Sunrock. Sunrock is a company in the building industry with unique, innovative building supplies and products that are focused on sustainability. So very up to date, very current kind of thing with them. He grew up in North Carolina, attended at UNC Charlotte, where he got a degree in geology. And you don't meet a whole lot of people with degrees in geology, so that's pretty cool. And then he fell in love with it so much that he went to East Carolina, got his master's of science in geology, and is a licensed geologist. This guy loves rocks. That's all I can say. And he works in that field, but he also is a specialist in hydrogeology. So Carrie's going to want to talk to him about that. She has done that a good bit, as well as environmental assessment, permitting, site remediation. And he joined Sunrock in 2019, helping them with regulatory and technical aspects of their work there, as well as researching new innovative products that are out in the marketplace and how they can be applied into solutions for customers. And then working on the compliance and business development and pretty much everything else the CEO has to do. So with that, Alex, thank you for joining us today, and we welcome
you.
Hopefully.
Great. Well, when you look at that picture, you don't think sustainability, right? That looks like a lot of heavy equipment extracting resources from the earth. But at Sunrock, 75-year-old family-owned and operated company headquartered in Raleigh, North Carolina, our focus is sustainability. What I want to do today is talk to you a little bit about our industry, about Sunrock, what we do, and then focus on 3 areas where we're really putting some dollars, some thought, and some energy into our sustainable products. It's going to be a little lag.
Yeah.
There we go. Like I said, family-owned and operated construction material supplier. Our owner, Brian Full, second generation. His father and uncle started the business in upstate New York in 1949. Reading the tea leaves of what would be a difficult regulatory environment in New York, decided to look further south. Dollars go where dollars are treated well. He ended up in North Carolina in the mid-80s and found a very unique rock deposit in Butner, North Carolina. From there, we have expanded to be the only vertically integrated construction materials supplier in market. What does that mean? We mine and extract our own raw materials, and we also have concrete, asphalt, and a contracting division. So what I tell people, I live in Durham. When we're doing some work in Fayetteville, our contracting division is doing the work. All right, they're out there, they're doing the utilities, but then they're laying the concrete. Well, that concrete came out of to capture, we're talking about serious dollars. Stripe just made a $72 billion commitment to lift those carbons. So you're going to see a lot of this product coming out into the market. And it's permanently captured, which is really exciting for us. Again, as an agri company, we don't think about that, but it's been a great product for us. I do want to just, if you have a second, pull your phone out. Augmented reality is really interesting. I think there's also some newsletters, so you can get a little bit of a flavor of who Sunrock is on the table. Love you to take a look at that. I recommend starting on the augmented reality on the Butner flyer. It's a great kind of shows the scale of that facility. And when you look over to the side, you can see that millions of tons piled up that was formerly a waste product that we are now bringing out in North Carolina. So I guess I'm close there. I'm going to leave a little bit of time for questions if you got anything. So,
Well, I'll reserve if he wants to. Question for Kevin. Our certified civil engineer and PE. Do you have one, Kevin?
The green mountain, like I said, that traffic is on specs, present strength, not as strong.
no, and we meet our 28-day breaks. I think it's really just an appetite on the technology for folks, right? It's we are not going to charge any more for that product. We inject the CO2 on our site. Typically, there's a credit share with the companies, but I think folks just aren't thinking about that when they're looking at the buildings. Everyone says greener, but let's start at the foundation and the footer there with the concrete. So I think, promoting it, getting it out there and knowing that we can do it, I think is a big part of this market. You're seeing it in New York, you're seeing it in California, just hasn't really taken off in North Carolina yet.
DOT projects, what percent of the concrete is being recycled? You know, when they, like, everybody's seen all the work they've done. 40s.
Yeah.
What percent of that is going back to the looks like?
Well, DOT recycles a substantial amount of that. I don't know the percentage of that, but most of that work on 40 is getting crushed up and put back down. So crush and run or a filler on the base there. Yeah. To not landfill material, is that?
No, they're using landfill. So basically, when I was in London, some of my clients were actually involved in that, where they were utilising not just recycled materials like you talked about, but also some plastics.
Oh yeah. So on especially on the concrete side of things, you can take different pozzolans. There's clays. There are some glass pozzolans. People are, instead of recycling or labor excess glass that can't be recycled, they're crushing that down ultra fine and using that for fillers. So yes, they are going into landfills and extracting out material. We're getting ahead of that upstream to make sure it doesn't land.
What is the normal life cycle for quarry? All over the place. I mean, going in.
We do, right? So on the front end of that, we are actively working on permitting a site in Chatham. We'll have a couple of years of studies on the front end of that to do reserve analysis to know exactly the design of that pit. I would say most of the facilities in Carolina, granite or crystal and rock, you're anywhere from 75 to 150 years on the life cycle of that facility. So the state of North Carolina is a life of mine permit. We can go surface to 550 feet deep. So it takes you a long time. And then again, you're thinking you have a big enough tract of land that you can build that site out. You got an incredible volume of rock there. Obviously market conditions, but North Carolina, again, every North Carolinian consumes 10 tons of aggregate or half a load of a dump truck every year to sustain our quality of life, about 84 million tons every year coming out of the ground in North Carolina. So there's a lot to be, as we run up the, best state to work, #1 state to work, #1 state to live. As that growth continues, we're going to see those numbers trend up as well.
How's North Carolina compared to other states? State that have been bust.
So
coming out of the ground.
Yeah, I think the most, it's interesting, you go out west and most of the time people are looking at extractive operations like Arizona. You wouldn't really think about Arizona. A lot of that is heavy metals operations. So that's what's interesting. A lot of times quarries get kind of lumped into that as extraction. But no, North Carolina's got a lot of facilities. I think it's 135 licensed pits in the state right now. Yes.
It's my understanding that asphalt is petroleum and crushed rock. Is it just crude oil or what? What is the binder?
The binder is the lowest grade distillate that comes through the refining process. I don't know the scale and spec of that, but it is the leftover of the leftover. That's there. Yeah, yes, it is. Asphalt cement is a petroleum binder. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
Words, if you had something one-on-one questions for her. It's great to hear the innovation that's going on such a traditional